Joining us now is Brett Eagleson, the president and founder of 9/11 Justice. Brett lost his father on September 11th when he was 15 years old. Brett, we appreciate you being with us this morning. You are helping to lead what you're calling a family rally at Bedminster today, and you will be speaking. What is your message there?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, we expect over 100 family members to be here today. Our message is very clear. Our message is to the American people that we now know, because of FBI documents that have recently been declassified by the Biden administration, we now know that at least a dozen Saudi kingdom officials were not just in contact with, but were actively facilitating and supporting the Al-Qaeda network here in America 21 years ago. They were signing leases. They were signing the hijackers up for English. They were ingratiating them into the community. They were getting them signed up for flight lessons. So it goes so much more than just speculation and just potential involvement. We now have an FBI document that says the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was involved in 9/11. One of those 12 officials was actually working for the Saudi intelligence agency. I can't stress that enough. Working for the Saudi intelligence agency. And I'm standing here on the parking lot of the hotel where all the golfers are at. And I'm telling you, not a single one of them have any idea of what these documents say. And we're here. Our number one goal is public education, public awareness, and for a former president of the United States, who in 2016 himself said the Saudis did it, who in 2019 chose to invoke the state secrets principle against these documents. It is absolutely shameful. It is absolutely disgusting that we have to be here today, coming out in full force, shaming a former president and shaming golfers and shaming people at large who are doing business with this Saudi-funded golf league.
What does it feel like for you to be there today?
Yeah, I shouldn't have to be here. It's been 21 years. The Saudis are currently standing in trial in federal court in Manhattan, less than 50 miles from where I'm standing. They're on trial for murder. We have an FBI that has released thousands of pages of documents that are dated back to 2014, 15, and 16, decades after the conclusion of the 9/11 Commission report. How is it that we have to be here amongst family members, standing in solidarity, and have to shame a president? How is it that we have to even be here in the backyards of where 750 people were blown away? They were burned alive. The Saudi government is standing trial in New York. We have an FBI that says conclusively that the Saudis did it, and we have a president who's profiting from them and defending his decisions for making millions and millions of dollars. And one question that I wish the media would ask is, how much is the former president, how much is Donald Trump personally benefiting from this relationship? How much money is he receiving today for hosting this tournament?
You also make the point, as you ask that question, how much is he personally making from this? You point out that in your organization, it's split pretty evenly amongst people who support Donald Trump. You have plenty of people who at least were Trump supporters as part of your group. What do they think now?
That's a great point. 9/11 did not differentiate between whether you were Republican or a Democrat. It killed us pretty evenly. So some of our biggest supporters, some of our most outspoken advocates were some of the biggest Trump supporters. So I have no idea what the president is doing. We have no idea. He is hemorrhaging Republican support over this issue. If you ask most Republicans, they do not like the Saudis. If you ask most Republicans where they stand on this issue, they would 100% wholeheartedly back our issue. The 9/11 community deserves justice. That's all we want. We want justice and public awareness, public acknowledgement of what the kingdom has done, and everything the former president is doing flies in the face of what he stands for. We have a former president who campaigned on the America First principle. All he stands for is America First. He wears a hat that says "Make America Great Again." But he's literally taking money from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who is currently standing in trial for murder against our loved ones.
From your perspective, from what you see in your own organization, is he losing support among people who were supportive of him?
He is absolutely hemorrhaging support. At least 100 family members have reached out to me, family members that vote along the Republican voting lines, that say, I don't understand what he's doing, I can't stand him. He is just losing so much support. Not only from the independent class, but he's losing Republican support over this issue. So we can't understand what Donald Trump is doing, but from what I'm hearing, from what I'm seeing, he is literally hemorrhaging support. We have a lot of NYPD members, we have a lot of FDNY members, you know, typical groups that you would expect to vote along the conservative lines. They say that the former president is basically dead to them. That he is aligning himself with an evil kingdom, an evil regime. He is putting money over America, and it's just showing the worst form of greed and the worst form of evil that we could ever imagine.
You're making this statement near his golf club. If you had any opportunity, and I don't expect you will, to speak to him personally, what would you say to him?
I would ask him what he's doing. I would ask him, when did he sign this LIV contract? How much is he personally benefiting? Did you sign this LIV contract before or after you chose to invoke the state secrets principle to keep these documents a secret? I met with the former president in 2019 at the White House on 9/11 with my mom, with 2 former FBI agents, with a dozen other family members. We pleaded with him, please declassify the documents. Please do it. He looked us in the eye. He shook our hands. He said he was going to declassify these documents. Less than 24 hours later, his attorney general invoked what's known as the state secrets principle. It basically blocked all this information from coming to light. Information that we now have thanks to the Biden presidential executive order, which unwound the state secrets principle designation. He kept those documents secret for a reason. He was protecting the Saudi role in 9/11. And to be fair, other regimes have done it, like other presidents have done it as well. Bush, Obama, they have all done it. President Biden unwound his decision to seal these documents. So I would ask him, what were you thinking? At what point did you engage in this contract with LIV? How much money are you getting? How much does it take to buy you off? What dollar amount is more important than American lives, American values?